on the dating app. And again, we want our users to be comfortable. So you'll have the option if you want to FaceTime. So you can do that before Meetup.
No way.
And now.
Aye. I'm the captain now.
Coming to you from the K2 studios in San Diego, California.
This sounds great. You sound amazing.
I always sound amazing.
It's the world famous
Everybody's hitting off like BFFs.
Kris and Kristine Show.
Hey, what's happening? How are you doing today? Thank you so much for being here. And I am Kris.
And I'm Kristine, and welcome to episode 181 of the Kris and Kristine Show.
Fantastic, wonderful Sunday. The rain has left us dry. I love it.
It has. And you know what is so interesting? I was looking at my Facebook memories yesterday, and it was like episode 23, 4 years ago. And I was like, what in the world? I thought we'd only been podcasting for 3 years. We're at 4.5 years now.
We are like grizzled vets. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think about it, like in the NFL, isn't 4 years like considered a whole career?
Well, in the military, 4 years is an entire tour of duty.
Well, we are doing a tour. I feel like every time I bring you onto the podcast, you feel like you are doing a tour of duty, right?
Yes, of like duty or duty. Are we talking about D-U-T-Y or D-O-O-D-Y?
Hey, tomato, baby.
I think it's both. But yeah, I was just looking back at that and I was thinking, wow, like 4 years ago, we were on episode 23. Here we are, episode 181. Who would have thought?
You know what? I would have thought that maybe we'd do 5 episodes and stick around. Like, yeah, it was a fun little thing we did for a minute, but here we are, 181 episodes. Now, I would have loved to been able to do a daily show. I know you would have loved one too, but although...
No, I wouldn't have. It is like nails on a chalkboard every week. Actually, this week I was fine because, I'd been traveling and all of that. And
where you been?
And we have a great guest that is coming on. But, there's other times when you're just like, are we going to podcast this week? And I'm like, Kris, I literally have worked all 3 jobs this week, plus, parenting and all these other things. Can I just have a minute? And you're like, you never want a podcast. And you just...
I don't sound like that.
Oh, you literally do.
I don't sound like that.
You literally do. It's like nails on a chalkboard. And you're like, you never want a podcast? I don't understand. And I'm like, because it's work. You're like, it's not work. It's a hobby.
It's fun.
It is work.
I'm having a blast. I love being here. It's a blast for me.
Exactly, because you don't have to do any prep.
Wait a second. I do all the prep.
No, you do the editing. I have to do all the prep.
It's like, you're saying that you're doing all the cooking and all the slicing and dicing of the prepping of the food, and I get to judge the food and eat it. Do you saying?
Yes. Okay. And do the dishes after.
Oh, I get to do dishes.
You get to do the dishes, which is what, podcast post-production is. I have to do all of the presentation and putting everything together and measuring and making sure that everything's in the house to be able to cook the recipe and cook it. And people are like, when's it going to be done? All right, is it ever going to be done? What are we having for dinner? Literally, that is my life when it comes to podcasting. It's like the minute that I walk in the door, are we going to podcast this weekend? I'm like, Kris.
What's your dinner? I'm hungry. Feed me, Mommy. Feed me.
Exactly. It's
well,
like
you know what?
You always want a piece of me.
Everybody wants a piece of you, babe. You're a hot commodity. You know that.
I know, but there's just not enough pieces to go around. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll do the bite-sized version. Do like the dollar menu.
The dollar menu of Kristine. Oh, everybody gets just a little bit of my time.
You said you were traveling. You just got back into town last night. So where did you go?
I was in Central California. I had to work up there midweek. And then I worked remotely from my regular job for a couple of days. And what else did I do? Oh, we had Ezekiel's birthday party.
Bingo. There we go. Big Ezekiel.
Big number 19.
19 years old. Wow, that's crazy. You know what's funny is that one more year, he'll be 20 years old. That's crazy.
I know. He's already plotting his 21st birthday.
Oh, where did you want to go?
Oh, no. You forget that kids on the spectrum have an amazing memory for things. And if you promise them you're going to do something, they're going to hold you to it.
But he was 4 years old and made the promise.
No, it was like 3 years ago. You told him that for his 21st birthday that you and I would take him to Vegas and you would teach him how to play roulette.
Oh, I would.
Yes.
Okay,
and you would buy him a drink.
I'm going to teach him how to play. Well, here's the thing. You get free drinks if you play roulette because you got to sit there. They'll bring by the drink waitress comes by. They say, what do you want? Anything? Cocktails, drinks? And you say, yes, I want whatever I want. And they bring it by, but they take forever because you know that you're playing. The thing about Vegas in all casinos is that they know the longer you sit there, the more you're going to spend gambling and the more you're going to lose. So that drink, which you think is free,
it actually costs you $750,000.
Exactly. So,
and then you have no home.
Exactly. Deed to your house on the table. You're like, I'm betting it all. But if Ezekiel wants to learn how to play roulette and he wants to, spend his money playing, I'll be happy to help him out.
Who said it's going to be his money? You said you're taking him.
I'm taking him.
And you're sponsoring the trip.
What,
This 21st birthday trip to Vegas is sponsored by Kris and Co.
Kris and Co.
Kris and Co.
That's my new company. Kris and Co's gambling.
Fantastic audio.
Yeah, Kris and Co's podcasting, podcast adventures, excursions.
I know. You can totally podcast about it afterwards and then it's a write-off, right?
Sure. My whole thing's a write-off.
I wonder if that ever happens. Like people go to Vegas and they gamble and drink and all of that. They document the whole trip for content and then it's a write-off.
I bet you a lot of YouTubers probably do that kind of stuff. My mom watches all those YouTubers that do the gambling things and they do all of the cruise things and the cruise gambling on the cruises and all that stuff. I like to watch the content creators that are more into Disney trips. I like to watch the ones that go to Disneyland every day and talk about all the fun Disney stuff. What kind of content creators are you into?
Well, before I talk about that, let me think about this concept of content creators that go to Disney. They really are blogging their entire trip. So technically, it's a business expense.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Yeah. If you think about it, almost everything
if we take the kids to New York and we are podcasting while we're going to be in New York and meeting up with some others in our community. But if we blog the content and post it, does that then make it a business expense? We're going to need to ask our accountant so we get clear on this because I want to know how people do this.
What if we could actually write off this whole podcast we're doing right now? What if this whole thing is a business expense?
Well, but then you should be paying me so then you can claim my salary as a write-off.
I am paying you in Monopoly bucks.
I can't take that to the bank. I want a Birkin bag.
Do Birkin bags take Monopoly money?
No, they don't.
How about Disney bucks?
I would take Disney bucks. I would take Disney gift cards.
Do they still have Disney bucks?
I am going to start charging you every week.
Charging me?
Yes, because then you can actually write off the expenses. I think that I should be a paid staff member of the K2 show.
Okay, fine. I'll put you on the payroll. How much you want? How much you want it down here? How much you want here? $1, $2?
What? Well, you said I was on the dollar menu, so thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, I said pieces of you on a dollar menu.
But really, I do wonder about this. So, podcasts, some people monetize their podcast and then they get money for sponsorships and things like that. And then there's content creators that do Instagram and TikToks and things like that. So, how do they draw the line on what they can and can't write off?
Well, I think as long as it's being used for the business or if it's an expense that's being used for the business. So let's take those Disney bloggers, for example. The tickets to Disney aren't free unless they're maybe getting paid sponsor through Disney to be there, which is the same thing as being paid.
Or sometimes it's like a travel company, like AAA Travel is sponsoring it.
Yeah, so they pay for all the setup. They pay for your room, your expenses, your tickets, your whatever. You have to mention them 8 times during the video, I'm guessing.
Right.
And you probably say this episode is sponsored by such and such whatever. They paid for this trip. That's another thing too I heard too. If you have a official sponsor on your show or a paid advertisement, you have to announce that this is a paid advertisement by so-and-so.
Yeah. On Instagram, even when I say, this partnership is with, blah, blah, blah company, it'll ask me whether or not I need to put the paid partnership label on my reel. And I'm like, no, it's not a paid partnership. And
so you physically are not getting paid by the company to do it. You're doing it on your own.
But they've even flagged different words with the algorithm to be able to be is this branded content?
Really?
Yeah. But
that happens a lot on YouTube too.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm curious about this whole like writing things off.
As we enter to tax season,
Mhm.
a lot of people right now are actually filing their taxes, getting everything ready to go for tax season. I think if you know you're going to for sure 100% be getting money back for tax season, you probably get a rush job on those taxes, get them done right away. That's money in the bank.
Right.
If you think you might owe money, you push that out to the very last day or get extension.
Right. Well, this year for our tax purposes, in addition to filing as a married couple and then filing for Christine Smith Designs, this is the year that we formally, I was going to say initially, but the word is formally, created Podtastic Audio as its own company as well. So how does that feel to be having to prepare taxes for the first time for your business?
I think it's going to be easy peasy as I say that now. You're going to be like, Chris, do you have this form? What's that form do? Chris, you need this to file your taxes for a business. Can we just say yes?
So basically, I'm going to end up doing all of the work yet again for your taxes.
I'll have it all ready to go. All I need to know is how much I spend on stuff. And okay, here's a serious question here. Do I have to like rate my hours or my hours of work? Do I have to put that in the equation?
No.
Oh, well, that's easy then.
No, but you do have to have all of your expenses, all of the costs of like internet, the square footage of this room. I don't know how to figure that out.
Well, just the square footage of this room?
The square footage of this room. And then, because I think what we'll be doing, because I run my business out of the studio and I have my own Wi-Fi network. So that business square footage and internet will be calculated. And then we use the whole garage really for storage for my wedding stuff.
Oh, don't forget your storage you have too.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm talking about for the house specifically. So for my business, it's the studio, the cooler, the garage, and the internet out there, plus my portion of the power and the water for out there. And then for you, it's our studio here in the downstairs, and the house internet is what sustains this, because right now you have Podtastic Audio going, you have the K2 show, which we do together, and then you also have your production services. So I mean, you have all three of those going. I think it justifies that. Plus, so what we're going to have to do is put together all of your expenses of things that you've purchased to support the business this year, and that's a thing that takes time. So I'll have to like get your phone and dig through your Amazon carts and things like that.
Well, I'm trying to think what I actually purchased this year for the business. Was the Roadcaster purchased this year? I thought maybe it was.
I don't know. This is why
I don't remember either.
This is not good, people. Let me get on my soapbox for a minute.
All right.
To all of our listeners out there, if you are a small business owner, or even if you're not, and you put your taxes together, take the time to slow down and think through everything that's part of your taxes and create a little table in Excel to calculate everything, because I am like very meticulous about what I put together for our taxes and how I do it. And it takes time, but I go through my bank statements. Like I'll sit down over 2 or 3 nights and I go through every single transaction on my bank statements. Even if I have like the summary thing that tells me how much I've spent, I don't trust it. I go back to January and I go through every transaction, and I have categories on an Excel spreadsheet, and it's like client meals and meetings, gas, because I have to calculate my gas, like client gifts, giveaways, like all different categories on this Excel spreadsheet. And then I type in all of the values, and then I summarize all of them, and I put that summary into a spreadsheet for my accountant. And I keep all of the history of the transactions. I go through my Venmo. I go through Zelle to make sure I haven't missed any payments to anybody. And it's a legit process, isn't it, Chris?
Oh, it definitely is. You have a lot of different moving parts, moving pieces that go into this whole tax season. Remember the good old days we just had one form. It was just a W-2. And you said, how much did you make? How much did the government take out? Here you go. It was like 3 lines.
Right.
And you sent it in. But don't forget, we also have the house to write off too. All the interest on that is to write off. And
it's a lot.
It is
when
a
you
lot.
Get to
Don't forget kids too.
Right. When you get to be an adult and you're owning property and owning a business, taxes can take a while.
Yeah, but in the long run, if you do it correctly, you have everything marked out correctly, and if you worked all the angles correctly, you can be just like Donald Trump and not owe anything.
This is true. And that's the goal every year, is to try and not be paying so much overage in taxes that you like get a refund. The idea is to break even.
Yeah. So you want to set your what do you call it? Your
Withholdings?
Withholdings on your pay stub correctly, so that when it does come, like Kristine says, end of the year, it should be a wash. You should not owe them. They should not owe you. It should be nothing. I saw this really funny like Instagram video where this girl's talking about taxes, and she's playing the part of the IRS, and she's playing the part of it herself and saying, the IRS say you owe us taxes. And she's like, why can't you tell me how much you owe? No, you have to figure it out yourself. But if you're wrong, we'll come after you. Why can't you tell me? You should know. No, you need to figure it out.
Right.
But you already know. So why am I telling you? So it's song and dance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's been an interesting time of year, just as we've been, winding down from the previous year and gearing up for this new year. And I've just been thinking a lot about our business and our podcast and things like that. And I was listening to a podcast episode because there's these TikTok stars that I follow. They're a married couple. And I saw an announcement that they were becoming a guest on, it's called the Unplanned Podcast. And it was one of those where it's a big time podcast. They get sponsorships and everything. And they flew in to interview this couple that went from like 1 million to 9 million TikTok subscribers, followers this year. And their names are Kay and Tay Dudley. And I think they live in like Arkansas or something like that. But they went on this podcast because when you're on TikTok or Instagram, all you get to learn about these people are like 1 minute, 2 minute bite-sized chunks.
Right. You don't get to go deep. It's like it's like icing on the cake.
Right. Exactly. But on this episode, they went like an hour and 10 minutes into their story. And it was literally just their story, like how they met, what they'd gone through before they met each other. They'd both been married previously. And I just found it very interesting. It got me thinking this morning, like on our podcast, we do little bite-sized chunks about ourselves, like interwoven in. But I think maybe next week we should do an episode where we were guests before we were married on a podcast episode called the 10 Steps Further podcast, where we shared our story.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did.
Right.
Yeah.
But we have never on this show actually gotten like deep and shared each of our journeys of what it took to be able to meet each other and like the process of blending. And I was thinking, I didn't even talk to you about this. I was thinking maybe next week's episode, instead of having a guest, maybe we go deep and we tell everybody our story.
I love how Kristine's pulling the curtain back here and showing everybody our behind the scenes meeting here. This is a live behind the scenes, what goes on here in the K2 studios. So I'm down for whatever you're down for, babe.
Yeah, because, when we started off the podcast, we were trying to do hot topics. And then for a long time, we've been doing like guest features. And I thought, you know what? We have some very loyal listeners that have been on our journey with us like for 4.5 years. And we're this far in, they may still be wondering like, who are these people actually?
Ooh, who are the mystery?
Yeah.
The mystery people on the show.
Like getting down to like the hard times that we've gone through to find each other and, what our individual journeys were. And especially now that our kids are getting a little bit older, and they're asking us questions about, things that have happened in our past.
They are?
Well, kind of. And I feel like we, for a long time, as we were doing this podcast, wouldn't say like wouldn't talk about our background a lot because we didn't want the kids to know about
Now I'm curious. What happened?
like previous relationships and things like that. But our kids are getting older, and I think that,
So how about we have our ex-girlfriends or our boyfriends on the show? You're saying like as
not
guests?
talking about ex-girlfriends and boyfriends. I'm talking about ex-spouses.
Oh, well,
And not having them on the show, but at least us being able to like share for real. I feel like sometimes we just allow our listeners to hear like a certain part of our story.
Well, most people do.
Right. But as I was listening to this episode of the Unplanned podcast just yesterday, it made me think about like, okay, well, I would rather be like authentic and let people know the real us and what it's taken to get here versus bite-sized candy bar versions of Kris and Kristine.
Well, yeah, the bite-sized candy bar versions are like the little fun packs they throw in Halloween bags,
Right.
It's exactly what it is. It's for kids. It's for quick little bites. There's no substance to it. It's just a little like, basically everything you see on TikTok or Instagram. I was kind of thinking about this. All those little like quick little reels or quick little, really chopped up quick cut videos they do on there for like the 5 to a minute, seconds long, whatever. Those are designed really to kind of get you enticed to kind of come in for more.
Right.
But it's really hard. It's really hard to get someone to go from there to a full on hour podcast.
Right. But I feel like the listeners that are tuning into this show that have been with us for 4+ years, they have earned the right to hear our story. They've been following along with us.
Oh,
and
you've heard it here first. Coming up next.
I know.
From Kristine.
And it got me thinking about our guest for this week when he was talking a bit about the dating process and finding the right person to be able to connect with, and how, so much of our online dating is, swipe left, swipe right culture versus finding things that you have in common and that make you compatible to go deeper with a person, to really find out earlier on whether or not it's something you want to invest in.
And this whole new technologies out there with this whole AI everything. I mean, everything's got AI in it these days. Your phone's got AI, your toaster's got AI, your car's got AI. What else got AI? Maybe your love's got AI?
I don't know. We're going to find out after this. We have a fantastic guest. Stay tuned. He's coming up next.
Are you in the middle of wedding planning and feeling overwhelmed? There's no need to fret, my friend. Kristine Smith Designs is here to rescue you. Offering wedding planning, coordination, and wedding floral design services, let us help relieve your stress and make your wedding day dreams a reality. Visit us at KristineSmithDesigns.com. That's KRISTINE Smithdesigns.com and request a free consultation. You'll be so glad you did.
And welcome back to the show. Today we have another fantastic VIP guest. He is an entrepreneur and innovator. Welcome to the show, Eric McHugh.
Well, thank you so much, Kris and Kristine. First off, I love this show name, and I'm really excited to be here. So I'm grateful that you guys had me.
Well, thanks, Eric. Thanks for showing up today, man. Where in the world did you travel from?
So I'm very fortunate, and I live in a beautiful Southern California, so it's always sunny and the weather's nice. People are nice.
Not today.
Well, I don't know about in LA. Down here in San Diego, as we like to refer to it, Sun Diego, it's the opposite of sunny. It's very rainy and drizzly. Is it clear skies for you?
Yeah, it's pretty clear. It was rainy for the past couple of days, so I think we can take the 10 days of rain we get on the chin and not complain too much.
I think the storm actually moved south. It came through you and it came down to us. I keep hearing all the LA news stations, at least on social media, were saying like, oh my gosh, you're getting another dumping of rain this weekend. And Stormageddon.
Stormageddon, for 4 days.
Yeah.
We were talking with somebody recently from Seattle, and we were like, oh, it's so rainy. And they're like, don't even get started with us. There's no comparison. Well, so happy to have you joining us here from our neck of the woods in Southern California. Are you a native Californian?
Yeah, born and raised Redondo Beach, California.
Oh, I love Redondo Beach. My aunt and uncle live there. I grew up spending spring breaks and some summer vacations, and they live just Avenue B area. So it was just over that huge hill that takes you right down to the beach. And I remember having to walk that hill. It was so horrible, but beautiful area.
Agreed. And yet, honestly, that's a great place to spend summer break, just within walking distance from the beach. It's hard to beat.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited to chat with you and learn more about you today. We've been studying up on you and your background, and gosh, you're quite accomplished to be such a young person. What inspires you?
So overall, my goal is to spread as much positivity in the world as I can. And both companies kind of allow me to do that. So I just do that while following my genuine intellectual curiosity. And here we are.
Yeah. So you said both companies. Now, I was reading up on you and I see that you're like a president of one company, but sounds like you are associated with more than one. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. So my name's Eric, 30 years old, blessed to be living in beautiful Southern California. My main hobbies right now are chess, reading, Muay Thai, anything under the sun, and meditation. I just got back from a 10-day meditation retreat in Joshua Tree, California. It was a beautiful, transformative experience. I highly recommend anyone check it out. In terms of school, I went to UCI and interned in Barcelona as a project manager, and in DC as a government affairs consultant, which is pretty funny because of those two opposite cultures. Like in Barcelona, I'd show up to the office like 10:30. I'd be the first one there. I'd wear sandals. In DC, I'd show up at around like 8, fully suited, taking the train. So completely opposite culture environments. My first job out of college was at Snap Inc., helping craft their ad algorithm. And the two main reasons I chose that was A, the location. So Snap's campus was on Venice Beach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they didn't they didn't have one big building. So they bought a bunch of different houses and properties on the boardwalk and like slightly inland. So you'd walk around different houses, working with different groups of people, which I thought was a great learning experience. And the second reason is because it was right before their IPO. So I wanted to see what that was like. After that, I was like, okay, probably should get a real 9-to-5 job. And I became a bankruptcy consultant for Fortune 500 companies going through the bankruptcy process. Again, learning wasn't my calling, but it was a great learning experience.
What is that even like being, working through a company that's, especially a massive company that's going through bankruptcy? Is that when they're trying to figure out what areas to cut costs, or what areas do they kind of have to like figure out what's going to be surviving, or how do they rebudget? How do you help them out?
So it really depends on where they're at the company. So we're a consulting firm, so different brands will reach out at different stages. So some would reach out at the earlier stages where they, like before they start the bankruptcy process, saying, oh, what should we do? Should we do bankruptcy? How do we cut? And then, of course, we offer guidance there. But the majority of companies we worked with had already declared bankruptcy. They're already in the middle of that process. And to simplify, it's really just when a company goes bankrupt, like a major Fortune 500 company, they have a ton of debt they have to move around to the appropriate creditors. So that's the main role of the consultants, the lawyers in the bankruptcy court at that point in time.
Yeah, because Kris and I were just before Christmas time seeing these different companies that were saying they were going to declare bankruptcy. And one of them, I think it was just after summer, was Home Goods. And I was like, let's go right now to Home Goods and see what kind of good deals we could get. And then they're still open. We haven't heard anything else about it. So we have this theory that maybe some stores or companies will say they're going to declare bankruptcy to try and increase their sales. Is that a real thing?
I mean, honestly, companies can do anything like that. But with the bankruptcy process, because law is involved, and I'm not a lawyer, so don't take anything I say as legal advice.
Right.
But it's a long, arduous process. Like, for example, some of the major clients, it was like 3-4 years. And during that time, these stores would still be running, still trying to earn revenue. And the money they would earn would add to the pool of money, which would be divided up amongst other people. So it's probably not a marketing tactic if they are actually declaring bankruptcy, just because that's an extensive, very expensive process.
Okay.
But I could see people saying going out of business. Like I've seen, it's like electronic shops. It's like going out of business for the past 40 years.
Right.
Yeah. So and then, hey, it works because we're talking about it now.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think of the common factors that you've seen for a big company? Sometimes people always say like, oh, that company's too big to fail. They're just so massive. But what do you see as their common threads that would really cripple a company and make them go file a bankruptcy?
So really, I can take that in two parts. So there are two main companies going bankrupt. The first is like the startup who's gaining a lot of traction. They're trying to expand as quickly as possible. The main reason they fail is, for example, like in a startup, let's say you start your clothing line, you get funded, you're doing well, you're getting sales and all that stuff. You raise an initial round, which means VCs give you money for equity. And then you use that money to expand, grow massively and all that stuff. And then when it comes down to do the next round, the VCs bail on you just because they don't like your numbers or anything like that. So that's one big reason companies go bankrupt. And the other company is I would say the other reason is just poor management of money and just like too many properties, too many liabilities versus the money they get, which is a really simple answer, but it's common.
It makes a lot of sense. So I know they didn't declare bankruptcy, but when you see a company like Peloton, who in the midst of the pandemic had this huge growth trajectory because people couldn't go out to gyms and they couldn't socialize and everybody was like wanting to get fit, and they're hiring all these people and expanding so rapidly, but not having a plan of what was going to happen when the world went back to being able to get outdoors, and all of a sudden they're laying these people off like in mass. And, those I think sometimes are those warning signs of, if we don't pivot, if we don't do something right now, the whole ship is going down.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And honestly, a lot of times can just be drum up to just lack of foresight.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, they see the chance to make quick money now, and it may not be the best long term. Like for example, the Peloton example, it did make sense to expand temporarily for like a year and a half to try to boost those sales and earn more money, get more customers. But like you said, as soon as everything went back to normal, they're just like, oh, okay, you still have to pay all these people.
Right.
Well, it's like a gym membership this time of year. If you go to any gym in January, or first of the year, it's crazy busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Come February,
Yeah.
And if a gym was to just look at their February numbers, then be like, or January numbers and be like, we're going to build 100 new gyms, but not see like, oh, it's going to trickle off. Like maybe we should wait a couple of months. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Foresight, as you were saying. So what is your educational background that really set you up for success with this? You said you went to UCI. What was your major?
So to be honest, I would say what set me up for success came after my college education in the forms of just like shadowing people and just reading pretty much everything I could get my hands on. But UCI set a really good base of just got my foot in the door. So my majors were psychology and business management.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now, we were reading up on you just a little bit more, and you're smarty pants over there, Eric. IQ of 140.
Is that good? I just asked Kristine. I don't know.
I told him, I was like, that's really good.
I thought I had IQ of 200.
Yeah, you're funny. So living life, having a very high IQ and navigating the world, do you feel that it was challenging for you to fit in when you were constantly thinking of new ideas and new innovations?
I want to just like you point just because we had to take a test, like a past VC incubator, which is why it was listed. But I don't think IQ is the most important number. I honestly think the emotional version of that, like how much you can empathize with people, is just a much better metric for success. But that being said, no, I didn't really have a problem getting along with people. I had plenty of friends. I always played sports. So it's a weird combo because I think I have slight ADHD paired with that. So in terms of schooling, there was some issues because I would just get bored and not really I just wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that was the biggest, I guess, issue that came with it. But even then, like it's a good thing to have.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I always wonder that for individuals that have high IQ, like, is it because it's not just about book smarts, it's about the way that your brain thinks strategically and processes information, that you can move through content in a much quicker way. And so you're constantly like pushing yourself to do more. So that leads me to wonder about these companies that you're leading now.
Yeah. And no, you're right. I would say that's the big advantage, is just like the ability to just consume. And I would say the biggest advantage is you can consume content in much quicker ways. Like I can speed read, which is honestly just a life hack where I can just read like 5 times faster than everyone. And then from there, the name of the game is pattern recognition. and ignoring stuff that doesn't serve you. But right now, I'm working on 2 companies, and my logic for business is I think everyone's happiest when they're serving people, and I think everyone was blessed by either God or the universe or whatever you want to call it with very specific gifts. So the best way to serve humanity as a whole is to be your authentic self and use your specific gifts to serve everyone. So in that logic, I'm working with 2 different companies, and I just follow my intellectual curiosity, and wherever that takes me, it takes me. So the first company is ShopX.
ShopX, huh?
Yeah. So that's a Web 2.5 platform, and it's my logic or my why behind that is my overall goal is to live a nice, peaceful life. I found that difficult to do if I view the money system as corrupt, which is what led me to cryptocurrency in general, like Bitcoin and all that stuff. And ShopX is a way for me to onboard people into that ecosystem voluntarily at scale. So like imagine ShopX it's a platform for like a Web 2 brand to enter the Web 2 space and gain benefits. So like, let's say we work with like a company like Nike, they use our product and services. They launch a Web 3 product for their customers. And obviously Nike has 1 million customers. 1 million people purchase that product because they want to. That's another 1 million people into the space of cryptocurrency. And whether they want to learn more, they can. So when you think of ShopX, I want you to think of the Google or Apple Web3. Long term, we're going to be a suite of products for a brand to download an app and enter Web3. Right now, we have 2 products live. The first is ReserveX. That's a NFT-powered loyalty program. So if you're a brand, you're on Shopify or WooCommerce. And for your listeners, there are 4 major e-commerce platforms. Like if you wanted to start an online store, you probably use Shopify, WooCommerce, Salesforce Commerce, and BigCommerce.
Right.
So we're live on Shopify and WooCommerce. If you wanted to launch an NFT collection with e-commerce benefits, all you have to do is download the ShopX app and we can get you started. So let's say hypothetically, Nike wanted to launch like a gold, silver, bronze style loyalty pass collection. They could launch that gold pass and then they could program in different e-commerce benefits to each pass. So for example, the gold pass could get a free product A, early access to product B, a discount on product C, access to in real life event for their gold members. And the silver pass could get like half off specific products. So it's just a way to create a relationship between you and the customer.
And that's all in the cryptocurrency arena, or is that using like traditional US dollars or whatever the currency is?
So it's in traditional. So right now, I want you to think of us, we're an additional Web3 revenue stream for brands. So we don't mess with the purchase process or anything with the brands, but if the brands want to launch a NFT collection for their customers to enhance their customer experience, that's what we do. And we do take, like as a customer, let's say Nike does launch that Gold Pass. If you wanted to purchase in cryptocurrency, you could, but you could also just purchase with your credit card just because we understand we have to make it as easy as possible for all their customers.
So Chris is sitting here, Eric, and he's what is the word? Like mouthing to me, what's NFT? So can you break down
Not for Tiffany.
No. Can you break down? I know what it is. I don't know what the acronym stands for, but I know what it is. So can you describe to Chris what NFT stands for and what it is? And for our listeners who may be wondering and being like, whoa, this is all going over my head.
Yeah, and I'll do that definition. I'll throw in Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, just because I think that's pretty important as well.
Perfect.
Web 1,
Yeah.
Web 2. Something Spider-Man used to do, I think. He had Web 1, and then Web 3 was like when he made a hammock out of his website.
All right, goofball. Let the man speak.
Yeah, so NFT just stands for non-fungible token. It's just digital scarcity on the internet, and it's a core tenet of Web 3. So it's part of the reason that Web 3 is able to exist. So in terms of Web 1 versus Web 2 versus Web 3, Web 1, I want you to think of read only. So if we're on Web 1, you see content on the internet, someone puts it out there, we just gotta read it. Web 2 is, think of just like Instagram, Facebook, or any social media app. So it's read and write. So on Web 2, I could write content like I could do an Instagram post, and you could read my content and you can interact with the content.
Does video get involved with Web 2? Is that what it needs? Web 2 to do that, or is it Web 3 to do that?
Video is Web 2. Or it's both, but what we're talking about is Web 2. Like, for example, YouTube videos and all that stuff would still be on Web 2.
Okay.
The issue with Web 2 is you don't own the content. So, for example, let's say we put this on YouTube or you post that Instagram post. Instagram owns that post, YouTube owns the post. They can cancel you whenever they want.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They make money off, they make money off your data. So they're the ones in control. Web3 is read, write, and own. So we can read content, we can write content, but the only difference is we can own the content through technology like cryptocurrency and NFTs. So for example, let's say I were to launch an NFT collection. It's like a picture or whatever. You guys purchase that NFT because you want the value that comes with that NFT. That's your NFT. I can't take it from you. I can't be like, okay, never mind, Kris and Kristine, we're over. And retract it like they can, like with like Amazon or all that stuff. Or like YouTube can't come in and cancel that NFT. So it's just yours forever.
Where does it live at then? A server somewhere or what?
So it lives on, I wouldn't say like it lives on the blockchain, but that's the easiest way to think about it. So with your NFT, when you set up a cryptocurrency wallet, you basically have private keys, which you don't share with anyone, and you have access to that NFT through those private keys. So for example, let's say I have my private keys, I have my Bitcoin. Those private keys give me authority to move around the Bitcoin wherever I want. And if someone else were to take those private keys, then they can get access to the Bitcoin.
That's amazing. So
Well, how do you protect theft of your keys?
That's where your Web3 has to get better. But it's also part of the user, like part of the ethos of crypto is accountability, meaning not your keys, not your coin. So the advantages of cryptocurrency is like, for example, like in Canada, you remember when they kind of like canceled all those truckers' money? That can't happen in cryptocurrency. But on the flip side, if you lose your keys, then you lose your, like, it's your responsibility to keep it.
Dude,
It's like,
I'm always losing my keys. I don't know where I left them last.
oh, yeah, me too.
digital keys would be like the bane of his existence.
Well, I know that the thing I always have a problem with, and my parents have a problem with this too, is trying to remember passwords. So like they write passwords down, or I try to keep a note of them somewhere and things like that. But if you now with your crypto keys, is the password, I'm assuming, does it always change, or is it locked in, or how does that work?
So the password is your private key, so it's locked in for life, and you can do things like you can split up your wallets. Meaning you could have like, I could have cryptocurrency on one. I could have like one Bitcoin. And I would need 4 different keys to access it. So you could add a layer of security there. You can have third parties be in control of your cryptocurrency, and they could take care of it for you, just like the normal bank system. But that also doesn't really align with the ethos. But again, it's up to you as the user.
Now, would somebody? I mean, I'm fascinated by cryptocurrency. I don't have any, but I was kind of curious. If you have cryptocurrency, is it kind of a way to skirt around paying taxes?
I mean, I would say yes and no. I mean, it's always going to come back to bite you, because the thing about cryptocurrency is just one public ledger. So every transaction you do happen is seen. So I wouldn't say, if I were trying to skirt taxes, which I'm not, but the public ledger isn't the way I want to do that.
That makes sense. You know, it's interesting as we're talking about this. I was at, so random. I was at, I don't know if it was like a 7-Eleven or an Arco gas station just the other day. And I was walking by the ATM that they have there. You know, like gas stations tend to have like those personally owned ATMs or whatever that have fees associated with them. But I just looked over as I was in line, and this specific ATM had a message on it, and it was like in alignment with XYZ law about anti-terrorism. We are recording each individual's identity as it relates to withdrawal of funds associated with cryptocurrency. And I was like, I didn't even think about how people may be leveraging cryptocurrency to get around like moving money between entities, that it could be like sweeping under the rug, like terrorism and things like that. Is that a real thing that people are using Bitcoin or cryptocurrency to fund illicit activities, or is that a far-fetched idea?
No, I mean, people are definitely using Bitcoin to fund some illicit activities, but the ratio of using like the percentage of Bitcoin being used to fund illicit activities is much less than the dollar. Plus, going back to the transparency public ledger thing, they always generally get caught. Like if you were trying to fund terrorism or any activity, would you fund them with something that can always be traced back to you?
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
No, you pay in gold bars, as I've seen them do it.
Yeah. So, okay, now that you've explained NFTs, Web 1, 2, and 3, let's go to ShopX again. So you explained it, but is this like related to e-commerce specifically? Like, are you helping small business owners or large businesses? What's your niche?
So right now, our technology is for everyone. So we do have small business owners, like we have the startups with zero revenue. We also have some major clients like Fox Studios, a new show, Kapopolis, and we also have mid-sized brands. So the cool thing about our technology is it's a new technology. So however brands want to use that, they'll use it to their advantage, and they're still figuring it out. I mean, like in 4 to 5 years, like brand A may use it this way, brand B may use it this way. But to answer your question, I would say our specific niche are, like if we had to pick one right now, it'd be hypeware, or brands with botting problems, or brands wanting to build a community or increase their customer lifetime value.
Very interesting. How did you even think of getting into that space, considering that you were interning in Barcelona, you worked in DC, and then you were a bankruptcy consultant? It just seems like this far pivot for you. Or was this an area you were always passionate about?
So I've always been a gold observer for a while, but during the time as a bankruptcy consultant, that's when I was really researching Bitcoin specifically. Like I had my group of friends, we send each other texts, we'd send each other articles to read, podcasts, and all that stuff. And it didn't really a lot of the non-rent-seeking behavior of cryptocurrency didn't exactly align with the ethos of cryptocurrency. Like, for example, the bankruptcy firm, like while they were, obviously it was a great firm, like everyone's really smart, you learn a lot. But I felt that there was a systematic issue, meaning like the way a consulting firm works is a consultants do like billable hour work, then they brand itself with the client, it gets a bill, and they just pay everyone. So as a bankruptcy consultant, we're doing billable hours of work to a company that's likely going through the bankruptcy process. So the company going through the bankruptcy process has a set amount of money that they're supposed to pay to the creditors, like the mom and pops and everything. And when in bankruptcy, it's a tiered system, unfortunately. I mean, like there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, not those names, but tier 1 gets paid out completely first, then tier 2, then tier 3, then tier 4. And I'm sure you can assume that pretty much like all the normal people like me or you would be in tier 4, and tier 4 often gets pennies from the dollar. So as a consultant billing that out, every time we would bill out hours, it was taking from, I felt, those people. So I just kind of waited till I got my bonus. And then I knew I was going to work in cryptocurrency. So I met the original ShopX team by just going to local cryptocurrency meetups in our local area.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And it's definitely, as I was listening to you and thinking about watching those large companies go through bankruptcy and then seeing like, gosh, I don't want to be in this forever. Like I want to move into a different space, that I think I would be doing the same thing. But you have another project you've been working on that Kris and I was on TikTok and I was like watching some of your TikToks about it.
Oh, what do you think of the TikToks?
Oh, they were great. So this is with AI-powered matchmaking.
Oh, yeah. The robots are coming over to take over.
Yeah.
So can you pronounce the name of the company for us, or the app for us?
Yes, it's dating, DATAING.io.
Okay, got it. Because I was like, is it data-ing?
I thought maybe you spelled it. I'm like, do you spell dating?
But I was watching on TikTok where it's like, I'm your AI-powered matchmaker. And so Kris and I, we had this conversation because I don't think that we've shared this part of our story. So we met through online dating. But Kris, how long were you online dating for?
Oh, a while, back and forth, back in my heyday,
Okay, like give us a timeline. Like,
oh, timeline.
It wasn't like a month or two.
Oh no, I had the account going for a while, and there was.
What's a while? Come on, we need specifics
I think you
here.
buy them in blocks. It was like 3-month block or 6-month block.
So if you were a Nike team, like you'd be gold level status, loyalty
pretty much,
member,
whatever.
right?
Yeah. So I'd buy them in blocks, and then of course when I go cancel that block, they'd say, "Hey, come on in. We'll throw you another 6 months for a penny or whatever." I'm okay, sure, why not? So I would keep going. I think probably a couple of years, maybe, of doing that.
Yeah.
And before I met Kristine, I was going to say, I'm done. I'm not doing it no more. I'm getting rid of this. This is it. And right before I pulled the plug, Kristine came. The robots hooked me up, and there she is.
Robots. Okay. So my part of the story is I had been online dating, and I was like, the first thing you get onto these apps and you're like fresh meat. You know, your inbox gets...
Especially a girl, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your inbox gets loaded full of... And all these messages are, hey, hi, what's up?
Something
Hey,
you can
beautiful.
easily copy and paste for all of
Exactly.
them.
It's
That's what
like,
it is.
what's up, beautiful? Or you have great eyes or whatever. And it's like, I'm not going to respond to these. Like, they're not even worth my time.
What was my message? What did I say?
Well, hold on, I'll get there. So then there's the ones that come into your feed, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I would like to reach out and have a conversation with this person. And then they don't respond to you. And it's like, well, they're showing up as in, whatever this algorithm is in this dating app that we may be compatible, but now they're not even responding because who knows if they have a paid profile and can actually access their inbox or whatever. So I went through a couple of cycles of being on online dating, being off of online dating, and I took this extended break, and then I came back, and like days later, Chris was in my feed and he had checked out my profile. And after like 4 times of him hitting up my profile and looking at it, I finally made the first move. But all of that
That's
to
right.
say, it took a lot of weeding through and all of these different people getting into my inbox and things like that. And I just wonder, like, was there a smarter way to do it? So why don't you tell us about dating and your approach?
Yeah, no, and there is 100% a smarter way to do that. And I'm glad you guys shared that story because it actually hits with one of the bigger issues I see with online dating. So the biggest issue with online dating, for example, right now is, and to go back to, like, there's a bunch of bots too, but that's
Right.
neither here nor there.
I got catfished for sure.
There are bots on all social media.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, so the issue with I would say the biggest issue right now with online dating is 5% of the users get access, the top 5%, I would say, get access to all the users on the app. And that's all based on physicality versus actual genuine connection. So even if you do match on Tinder, and I'm glad you guys matched, but it's just unlikely to go anywhere. And the second issue is the incentives of the company, and which is why your example is so powerful. They make their money through something called churn marketing, meaning they get a paid user when they get you keep coming back to that, which is why so many people, like, they'll download Hinge, they'll delete Hinge, they'll download Hinge again, they'll delete Hinge again, they'll download it again. So they'll just go through that cycle. And if on the off chance they do make a match happen and that couple gets off the app, they actually lose a paying customer. So it's not in line with the bottom line to match people. It's in line just to keep people coming onto the app.
Yeah. It makes sense. It's like anything. It's like, think of like a casino. Like a casino, yeah, people, so-and-so would want a jackpot, but the casino wants you there to keep playing. And
Because it's actually like when you lose more, you play more because you have the hope that maybe.
well, it's the same thing with dating. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what dating solution is we want to put our users in. So our goal is to connect 1 billion happy couples, and we want to put our users in the best position they can be to succeed. So we launched February 14th. And what it's going to do is, if you want to join the dating platform, you would join on our website, you link your social media accounts, and then from there, it would auto-generate a dating profile for you based on your digital footprint. And then it'll match you with people, other potential matches within the database with similar digital footprints. So for example, I could link my stuff, I create my Eric profile, I get shown 3 matches a day, so users don't just get bombarded with matches. Like, because I've seen even my personal account where it's like, but I've seen some of my attractive like girlfriends where they show me their Tinder account and it's like honestly like thousands. So we want to show like around 3 matches per day. So let's say I show Eric, it's my day. I see Ashley, Kimberly, Jane. There's a brief bio on Ashley, Kimberly, Jane. I'm like, okay, I like Jane. I like that she went to Ford University. I like that she's the oldest of her family. I like that she has a small Instagram. I like that she's into outdoors. Let's say, hey, Cupid, can you tell me more about Jane? Cupid tells me more about Jane. And then it can suggest stuff like saying, hey, did you know that you guys have this one R&B artist? You both listen to him like 25% of your Spotify listens. Oh, did you know that he has a concert coming up and he's halfway through? Would you want me to suggest this date to Jane? And then it could. So the reason I think this is cool is because let's say that didn't come up. Theoretically, we're matched on the back end. So even if we do meet up in person, there should be more in common than just like a random person. Like if that R&B artist didn't come up, it's still there in the back, and then we get to discover that. Or maybe it doesn't tell us that we're both really into national parks and we just go there a lot, but it would match based on that. So it puts the user in the position to succeed. Because like obviously for dating, you still have to go out and be a pleasant person to date, but we want you to like be there. And
So Eric, how do you, on the inboard intake process, I'm assuming that you must go in depth. I know I've heard eHarmony is like one of the most in-depth intake processes they have for each new client. I know Match, they ask some things too, but is yours pretty, because you mentioned music taste. I don't even know if I don't think even Match even had that on there as an option. So you must have like a real like lengthy process, or do you use like AI to figure that out?
No, the process is actually super simple, and it's much more in depth than any other dating site because we're just like their social media accounts. So you would just create a profile, put in your number, put in your name, and then your profile is connected to your number. So whenever you want to log in, you just go through your number. And then the intake process is just linking like your social, and linking your Instagram, linking your Facebook, linking your Spotify, and whatever social media accounts you want. And then from there, the profile is already made. So like in Match.com, let's say they're asking about music, they could say whatever they want. Like they ask you like 5 questions, whatever. But we'll base our matches based on your entire like Spotify history.
Okay, big question that I have, Eric, is whether or not finding things that people have in common is a good indicator of them potentially being a good dating match. And let me tell you why before you answer. Because I look at Kris and I, and if you were to just look at us through the lens of what we had in common, the only thing that we had in common really is that we had both been raised in the same faith as children and young adults. We were divorced and we had children from our previous marriage, but literally that's it. Like his interests were completely 180 degree difference and still are from me. So I'm thinking like, would your app even suggest him as a match for me?
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you answered the question. I think everyone is their own beautiful individual self, and everyone's interest in a potential match completely differs. Like, for example, I could want someone the same, you could want someone the opposite, someone could want someone in the middle. So the cool thing about our app is the longer you're on the app, the more matches you reject, the smarter the matchmaker gets, and it's more likely to put you in front of a match you would actually want to get along with. So, for example, in this case, I think it'll start off showing, and it'll change based on data. Like, for example, if more people like opposites, it's going to switch up on the back end and do that first. But I think it's going to start off with matching people as similarities. And let's say that works great for some people, but it doesn't work great for person B. This person B just keeps saying, no, I don't want to date someone the same as me, by like just clicking pass on the match. It's gonna figure that out, that there's a pattern, because really all AI, the benefit of AI is just like pattern recognition at scale. So it'll pick up on the pattern and then I'll try to auto-correct itself by showing person B, like maybe it's someone who's the opposite, and see if that has a better results. So it's just gonna keep testing. So it's not gonna just keep, if you're saying no to someone who's similar to you, it's not just gonna keep giving the same type of person.
So Eric, but how does it weed out the fake bots? Because some of them look very convincing, but I can tell they're fake. Come on now. I mean, but I'm saying, like, how does an AI figure that out?
Yeah, so the way we're working around that, and I know bots are a big problem, and they're really annoying on the dating apps where a lot of them are just bots, and it's like, Jesus Christ. So the way we're working around that is, it's a manual process, meaning if someone has to report, obviously you have to do that. We're running an algorithm. We're going to create bot prevention. So we're working with some of the security measures on like LinkedIn and some of the major social platforms on how they find their bots. So we'll run that in the background to try to find the bots. But the biggest defense against the bot is just the way your profile is created. So for example, to create a profile, you link your phone number and then you link your social media account. So it's a lot of work because bots are good if you can just scale it up and just mass create accounts like that.
Oh, very quickly without having to like think about it, right?
But like if you have your number and you're connecting like your Facebook, LinkedIn, and Spotify, it's unlikely for a bot to have all 3 social media platforms going. And if you want to connect one and you are a bot, like let's say they work around that, they connect a fake Instagram to like a fake number, they just create a chain reaction that way. Mm-hmm. If you only have one social media account active on the platform, you probably won't get the matches or that you won't have the karma points
Okay,
to do
so
very well in the app.
does your app require more than one social media?
You can link as many as you want. You'll get better matches, and it'll create a more comprehensive profile for you with the more you connect.
So let's just say you match up. You got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter X, and LinkedIn, and you said music ones too. So if you have a Spotify, do you guys work with Apple Music also, or is it only with Spotify?
No, I mean, obviously we want to work with them in the future. It's just these integrations take time. Like, for example, working like TikTok or Instagram, you have to develop the software, you have to talk with their team, and they have to get approval for you. So,
right.
so we're just kind of in the process with all of those. So we will work with like Apple Music, like Ticketmaster, Eventbrite, so you can get like data on like what events you go to, and they could suggest stuff based on that. So the more sources, honestly, the better. They just take some time to get like company approvals, and all these companies, they have a different process and different responsive rate and different some take longer than others.
This is super intriguing to me, Eric, because I'm thinking about my season of singleness. That's what I'll refer to it as before. We call it BC, before Kris, BK, before Kris. When I was in that time frame of being single and figuring out what it was that I wanted as a single woman and, taking time to do different activities and things like that. And I made new friends. I'd go to meetups, I'd make new friends, and they'd introduce me to new things. Like we'd go country line dancing. And so on my Facebook, I'd check in doing country line dancing and, be looking on my Instagram feed at different fun country line dancing places. So I'd be exposed to these new and different experiences, which opened me up to different people. So with your system, is it point in time data collection, or is it ongoing where as the person evolves in their interests, it's gathering that data and matching in a new and a different way? Or is it just one snapshot of data and that's how your matches are curated?
No, we can do either. We're deciding which way works best. But right now we're leaning towards ongoing, maybe not every day, but every once in a while, because people do evolve. And if you were going in your example, if you're going line dancing, maybe you want to match with someone who does line dancing. It's hey, this person also does line dancing. You guys can try it together. Oh, we've seen this as your second event. They're also new type of thing. Mm-hmm. So I prefer it to be ongoing just because I think people are evolving. What they're looking for is evolving too. For example, in our season of singleness, if you want to call it that, sometimes you may just be looking for a friend, someone to hang out with, and then you may eventually move on to trying to look for something more serious. So if we do a static screenshot, it might not pick that up.
So are you, can you program it to where, say, for example, you're looking for friendships versus for, say, a dating relationship?
Yeah, no, 100%. That's where I want to go the long term, just because I think relationships are key in just overall human happiness. So if I wanted to, I can use it to, find me 5 dudes who are within 20 miles, who like Muay Thai and I could just list out the criteria that way. We're just starting off with the dating market because I think it's pretty easy to penetrate. The pitch itself is really easy just to people who are saying, let's, hey, do I try this app? Or we can target people who are on Tinder, hey, is Tinder working for you? 95% of people say probably not. Oh, here's a cool TikTok video if you want to join, feel free type of thing.
So Eric, I ask you a very serious question. I think it goes back to a lot of the human psyche. I think you said you majored in psychology, was it?
Yeah, psychology and business, but yes.
Okay, great. So what are your thoughts on us as a society today? I know you're a younger guy, so maybe you've kind of grew up with the online texting era. And what are your thoughts on not having real human connection versus everyone's just texting and the online face versus meeting face to face? When say you're on the dating app, right? And you're texting Susie or whoever it is, and you guys are going back and forth, you're having a great conversation, everything. But when it does come to actually meeting in person, oh, I don't know if I could do that because I've never really, I'm not really used to meeting people because I usually just text everybody. Have you found problems with that, and how do you combat that?
Yeah, so what I want is for people to meet face to face, just because I don't think there's going to be a spark. You can generate a spark or find out if there's a genuine spark just by texting. So our goal is to get people on the date as fast as possible versus just going back and forth. So we do have options for that. And going back to the Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 example, it's like I view Web 4 as a metaverse. I like to joke that Web 5 is everyone just goes back outdoors and starts interacting again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so on the dating app, and again, we want our users to be comfortable. So you'll have the option if you want to FaceTime. So you can do that before Meetup.
No way. That's a good option. I think if Christina and I did FaceTime, I think it'd be pretty cool. Versus like going. But I think going face to face is always. I think meeting in person is probably always better.
Oh, 100%. But there are some people. It's like, especially like if you're a girl, it's the safety comfort aspect. You may want to hear the voice before just to make sure they at least sound normal. But we're also building out like a VR portion too, just because we understand the online, like the younger generation, they are really just used to be online. So like, while I would rather have them meet in person, we're gonna build out VR. So like the app, like if you get the Apple VR headset, you'll be able to like just meet up first that way. But again, our goal is always to get them to meet up in person because you can't like start a relationship you can't just start a purely online relationship. Well, you can, but.
That sounds so trippy though, Eric. When I think about it, it was like there was some old movie I remember where they were like doing like a VR date kind of thing. And it was like back in the 80s. And it was this like simulation.
80s?
It was like a simulated, like in the future, this is what the world's going to be like. And I think about a VR date. Like I know these things will happen in the future. And especially for people that may be like very like far apart from each other. But the old woman that I am now, it just feels like, gosh, is technology getting too far ahead of us to where, like, I don't know, it just feels so
dystopian.
Yes, it really does. And it feels almost, I don't even know what the word is. Scary is not the right word, but there's so much. I do have fear when it comes to like the world of AI. I think there's like so much that AI is doing for us right now, but I get this like, are we going to lose connecting with people? Are we going to lose the, cute meets that you see in
the Hallmark
Channel movies of, the lumberjack and the big city lawyer who have nothing in common except everything in common that stumble across each other. And so, while I totally think that this app is so interesting, it just, I don't know, it can seem a little bit freaky at times. Do you get that from people?
So the way I look at AI technology is I view technology as a neutral tool, and however people want to use it, that's up to them. So I view dating as a positive way to just incorporate AI into people's lives. And to your point, like me personally, I prefer like just meeting like a grocery store type of thing. That just always works better for me because you can pick up on someone's energy just by physical presence, not really much online. But I would say I agree that, well, it's just people are already meeting. The majority of people meet online already right now. It's just a really ineffective way. So I view dating as a way, like if they're already meeting online, at least put them in the chance to like at least make it better for them if they're already going to do that.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned that the app is launching in February or it's launched already?
February 14th. So what our original plan was, we were going to build it out, launch early January, get users, and then raise additional funding because you need users to raise the funding. But then what happened is people liked the idea so much it just got funded before. So we're building it right. Like you can use it now, but it's only like a close friends and family, work out the kinks. And we could launch next week, but at this point, it's like we just want to launch on Valentine's Day because it's cute.
It is. That's very cute. So now, is this going to be an app dedicated to iOS and Android, or how's it going to work?
Right when the launch is going to be desktop first, but we're in the process of building out, again, like it's an application process and everyone takes different times, but it'll be for iOS and Android. There's no sense of cutting out one community.
Right, of course. I've heard the process to get approved by Apple takes a little longer than the Android version. Is that true?
100%. Yeah. Android's relatively easy. Apple's the one that there can be some lag on that one.
Well, this is exciting. Like, we are on the cutting edge here on the K2 show, before the global debut. When we look back at this a year or two from now and we see you going public and, making your second $1 billion from this, new innovation.
We'll have to drop Match as our sponsor.
I know. We're going to have to just be like, we knew you back when.
Yeah. Oh. It's funny, Match is the one that owns pretty much everything in the industry. So what happens for all dating apps is they're all owned by BlackRock and they're all owned by Match. So if you reach a certain amount of user, and this is also part of the problem too, with churn marketing. Once you reach a certain amount of user base, Match will come up and Match will just kind of buy your app. So most people on any dating app, they're all on just a Match app, whether it be Hinge, League, or whatever. It's all under one umbrella, which is why the churn marketing is so effective. So which is why there's not too much like competition or innovation, because it's all Match isn't going to disrupt themselves type of thing.
Wow. Side note on that Match thing, how many of their members do you think are bots percentage wise?
That's a good question, because bots have different purposes. I would say when you first join, the majority of users that you're shown are bots because it's a good training tool. But I'd say probably like 25, but I'm just guessing. I haven't looked into it.
A training tool for what? So that they can kind of get an idea of what you would like?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a general practice for most apps. And I would say, obviously, you have to look at it from two perspectives. Like for the girls on the app, there's no need to create guy bots. Let's be real. Guys are on dating app. There's no shortage of guys on the dating apps. But,
well, speaking of which, what do you think the percentage is, guys to girls?
Probably like 90 to 10.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's much more girl bots than guy bots. I think guys are probably, I don't see what's the point of making a guy bot on a dating app.
Although, you know what? I did get catfished one time. I don't know if it was a bot, but it was like, I was trying to like set up this coffee meetup, and it must have been somebody from, playing games or whatever. And I should have known from the pictures. They just looked a little too staged, but yeah.
Were they like a picture of a Polaroid from 5 feet away or something?
No, it was just like this perfect happy family, and it was like a doctor, and they said they were a doctor of like neurosurgery or something.
A poster of Grey's Anatomy.
No, I wasn't that gullible.
Look, it's me. I'm just McDreamy.
Honey. I appreciate you, McDreamy.
I like that you bring that up though, just because you mentioned someone could be trying to play games. So are either of you guys familiar with Reddit?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a love-hate relationship with Reddit.
Yeah, I joined Reddit, but I can't. I think they hate me. They keep blocking me, kicking me off. I don't know why I saw that. Like, screw you guys, Reddit.
Same here, but their karma system where you get karma points.
Yes.
Yeah,
Chris can't get karma. Well, he can't get good karma.
So dating has karma points as well. So it's in a percentage base. So if you behave poor, like let's say in your example, they're playing games or just being like or whatever, you get karma for doing like desired behavior to keep as an incentive for people to like keep that friendly, keep it nice. So if you have higher karma, it's going to be worked to that. We're going to be matched with other higher karma users, just so people don't like waste their time. Like let's say you're one of those people that join the app, just kind of like solely attention sucking or just doing. It'll pick up on that. You'll get reported. Your karma will drop, and you have to either raise it or just you got to get lost.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, so how are you launching this? You mentioned that you're going to launch it around Valentine's Day.
Online, you said.
Online, but where can people go to sign up? And is there some kind of special incentive if they're in your first group of users?
Yeah, so if they want to sign up, they'll go to the website dating.io, and then you can just sign up that way. We're launching it. It's eventually be global, but right now we're just kind of targeting mainly, like anyone can sign up, but like if you sign up from like Moscow or England, you're probably going to be like the only person there. So we're targeting our push to generic, just pretty much SoCal, specifically LA.
Really? That narrow, huh?
Well, yeah, just because just at first, because when people join, we need there to be actual matches and people around where they could actually meet up. So if we have like targeted, like limited budget or whatever, or just not unlimited, it makes sense to just go city by city. And we're from LA and we have access to like some studios and stuff. So that's why we're choosing LA. Yeah.
Well, it's a pretty good market too, I would say. Too. There's probably a lot of singles and I mean, versus say Hoketown, middle of nowhere, you know.
Oaktown. Kris comes up with all of these random phrases. I call it podunk, or living out in the sticks, and he comes up with these combinations.
I call it hodunk. It's what it is.
It's funny.
Well, we're super excited for you, Eric, and it sounds like a really unique approach to dating, and we can't wait to hear about all of your great successes. But folks, listeners, you've heard it here first. Get on the front lines of this, especially if you're Southern California based and you're in the dating market or thinking of getting into the dating market. You definitely want to go and check this out. And so, Eric, we're going to keep all of the links to everything that you've shared in our show notes from today. But as we are releasing this just before Valentine's Day, any last words on love for our listeners?
Yeah, no, I'd say love is probably honestly the most important thing ever. So how do you get love? That's what everyone wants. To get love, you have to become love. And what I mean by that is I think the outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So let's say your inner world is sad. It's like a radio frequency where you just attract other sad people. Same with anger, same with happy, same with joy. So if you are trying to find love one day, it's a beautiful feeling. It's probably the best ever. Just be loving towards people and they'll be loving towards you back.
Oh,
we love that so much. Well, Eric, thanks so much for being on the show with us today. We can't wait to hear about all of the great things that you're going to do in this world.
No, and honestly, Kris and Kristine, thank you so much for having me. I'm truly grateful. And if there's anything I can do to support the show or any of your listeners and pretty much anything, just feel free to reach out anytime.
Awesome. Thanks you so
Eric.
much.
Of course.
Enjoy listening to podcasts and ever wonder, can I make a podcast? But it seems so complicated, and good audio production can take time. What if there was a way to create an amazing podcast easily? Well, now there is. Introducing Podcasting Made Easy from Podtastic Audio. My production team will handle your entire audio production, allowing you to be the star of your show. This is Podcasting Made Easy. How easy? Well, so easy, you don't even have to press record. Now that's easy. Your listeners are waiting. Let's deliver. Sign up for a free strategy call today at podcasticaudio.com/easy.
You know, it's also great to have Eric come on the show talking all about the new tech stuff. I'm not a big tech guy, but trying to learn something new every day is always fun.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see how this app unfolds and what it's like in the Southern California area and how it catches on. And I think the timing right around Valentine's Day is going to be perfection.
I think even back in the olden days is that the olden days,
You mean when you were a child?
when I was a kid growing up, no. When online dating first hit the scene, I think it was Match was the first one on the scene, or was it Matchmaker?
Hold on. You're referring to that as the olden days?
Well, yeah.
What?
Well, okay. Was there anything before that?
No.
Online dating? Was there anything?
Was chat rooms.
Yeah, that's the the chat rooms were a keyboard version of going to a bar, pretty much.
Yeah, it's how one of my sisters met her spouse.
Yeah, well, I met plenty of ladies that way too, trust me. But anyways.
Kris has done it all.
I have been everywhere in the world. So, but the thing I was saying about Matchmaker and Match and earlier versions of those kind of things, you type in what your parameters were, what you're looking for. I think you've Match did that. And basically Match would feed you suggestions. And I think, didn't they give us a ranking, a star ranking, 4, 3, 2 stars? I thought one of the servers, I've been on so many services, I can't remember which one is which, but one of them had a ranking and it based it on whether or not you matched up based on the questions they asked you, whether or not you matched up. And it's kind of like an AI, kind of like an algorithm where it kind of figured out matched up based on things you guys said you like. You like tennis? I like tennis. Ooh, match it up,
Mm.
You're looking for somebody that's, this ethnicity or this religion or this area of town or whatever. And you kind of, I think based on those things, it would kind of put you to get blend you together just based on those factors. Now, with the whole AI stuff, I wonder, is it going to go deeper than that, more beyond that kind of stuff? Because, it's very simple for somebody who can say, they can check boxes that say, yes, I love these 5 different sports. Oh, you like those 5 different sports. They're a match. But just because of that, does not mean they're actually really a match.
Right. Exactly. And I think that that's what the dating app is going to really help with. And when I say dating, it's that DATAING app that Eric was talking about that's going to be launching around Valentine's Day, is looking at similarities and compatibilities, but not trying to find the person that's exactly you. And I think that's the hard thing is, finding that balance between we have common interests and we like similar things, but not looking for the same person. But I do wonder how it would work when there's a situation like yours and mine where we literally had no common interests.
I thought we did. You're on my match.
I know,
thing,
but why?
I think you're a female.
And I had a picture of a car on my profile, but that's about it.
Yes.
That's what, clued you into me. I did love my car.
But also too, I think too, is that like when you say you match with somebody on Match or Bumble, whatever the hell it is you're using, and you see, okay, they picked the different things. They all pick things that are somewhat similar to what you picked. And you're kind of in that realm of they could be a match, but really what it comes down to is having a physical conversation with a person, not a text conversation. I mean, that helps kind of get the ball rolling. But if you have an actual like face-to-face, which is always scary for everybody, nobody wants to meet face-to-face, especially in this day and age. Gas prices are forever. It takes forever to get us somewhere, and then of course, it's scary for women, because you could be in a situation that would not be very good for you. So I understand why that maybe doing the FaceTime thing as a first time date, or even with a Zoom call, first time date. I could totally see that doing that now. I mean, that was an option.
You would love that because you don't have to pay any money to go on a date with anybody.
Hey, I got to pay for Zoom or whatever you get charged for that, or FaceTime. You can pay for that too.
No, if you go 40 minutes on the free plan, you don't.
Well, check that out. Hey, all dates are 40 minutes or less, guaranteed.
Yep. Okay, so you are the king of cheap dates. You used to say like, oh, well, I'm going to go do a coffee date, but I'm going to show up before the girl and order my own coffee and sit there and wait for her so that when she shows up, she has to buy her own.
You say, hey, are you getting anything while you're here? You get yourself coffee? Hey, Susie at the counter, she'll hook you up. Go tell her what you want. Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah, her right there. Yeah, go ahead. I'll save the seat. I'll save this table right here for you so nobody else takes it. But Chris, nobody else is here in the coffee shop. Yeah, but this one, it's our table. You know what I'm saying, baby? Get yourself a coffee.
Are you enjoying yourself?
That's exactly what you said.
That was your whole monologue. Ladies, this is what he does, is he goes on these bits and he thinks he's funny, but guess what? You're not funny. You're lucky. You're lucky that I tolerate it. You really are. Because if you would have pulled that on our first date, I would have walked out.
Who drinks on a first date?
Oh, but you hesitated and then you studied the receipt deeply.
Of course I did.
And I was like, is he waiting for me to pull out my wallet? Because I'm not.
No, I
would not.
Listen. If it's a first date,
you're buying.
You guys have to. I mean, as long as it's not something crazy like, I don't know, a cruise or something like that. I don't know.
Or Ruth's Chris.
Well, even that, I was on a date once, and I was at Benihana's, and there was another couple right across the way on the same table, and we saw them. We saw what they ordered. Everybody orders kind of the same stuff, and we're getting the bill, and I saw the bill was close to $200, maybe $150 or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, just for me and my date. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, I paid for it, of course. But then I saw. You did? Of course I did. Come
what?
On. Did I pay that day?
Nope. Maybe I didn't. You never pay for dates.
Maybe I didn't pay that day. I thought I did. But anyways.
She paid.
Anyways. So I look across the table. I see her and the guy looking at the bill, and I see them totally pull out two cards, or it's 2 cards. They totally split the bill. They did it Dutch style. I'm like, man, lucky guy right there. So.
If you can see the look on my face right now. I do watch Instagram and I see these husbands doing boo baskets or burr baskets for their girl, or, it's only 2-week countdown to Valentine's Day. What are look at my 15-day countdown of love for my spouse, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'll never get that.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
You just get it in different ways. That's all.
Oh, because I get burned every 15 days.
No.
15-day countdown. It's like, how many put downs can I say
I don't put you down. I lift you up.
And then he pulled the chair out from under me, so I crashed to the ground.
No, not at all.
Well, I am glad that you're giving everybody some laughs. But, speaking of laughs, while I was up in Central California, I have to tell you this. I did get to go to one of Ezekiel's stand-up comedy shows.
In person, huh?
In person, yes. He was at a comedy place. It's on a Wednesday night up in Clovis, California. And he was, okay, so it's 18 and over comedy. So when I go in there, I go in with, I am a supportive parent that is refraining from judgment while I allow my son to figure out his voice in the comedy space. And that's the thing is, he can't get in trouble with me for what he says while he's on stage.
Is it like a little pact you guys made before you went in there?
No, it's just like my agreement to him is he is learning how to write out comedy, and he can't really develop as a comedian if he's afraid of judgment while he's up there. Like, he has to be able to like figure out his comedic voice. And so he had definitely prepared, but then he's been trying to do crowd work where he's like trying to like interact with different couples. And okay, first of all, he got promoted to what's referred to as mini Mike. So in these
Mini Mike?
Yes. So in these comedy
Magic
shows,
Mike.
Not Magic Mike. In these comedy shows, there's always a headliner. And then at the end of the show, they typically reserve 3 minutes for each person to do open mic. At the beginning of the show, if the promoter likes you, they'll give you 3 to 4 minutes on the front end of the show, like the openers.
Is that like the prime real estate, the front end?
Yeah. It's referred to as mini mic. And Zeke begged the promoter and he let him do the mini mic. And so I was listening, and Zeke was really working on his routine, and he was working on some crowd work, and he said some stuff.
Was it racist? It was.
I wouldn't categorize it as racist because.
Was it sexist?
No, let me finish. I wouldn't categorize it as racist because he is Mexican, and the comments that he was making are about individuals of that background, but he made it to a couple that do identify as that.
And they didn't think it was funny?
And they walked out at the end of his 3 minutes.
Well, at least they waited to the end and walk out in front of him.
Right. He was really down on himself. And I had to coach him up and say, which, you know what? You're going to have people walk out. That's the world of comedy. That's actually a sign
how somebody walk out on you, man.
After. But I said, that's a sign that you got under their skin a little bit. And maybe you stepped a little bit over the line. But overall, he did so well. And the promoter there he said, I love your son. He's so funny. And he's found this community of comics that, some of them actually do this professionally, and some of them are still trying to like break through and make it big. But it was so fun to sit there and watch him and then talk with him. And then for his birthday, he loves this comedian, Cat Williams. And he had told me he really wanted a fur coat like Cat Williams. And so for his birthday, we gifted him this like faux fox fur coat that goes like almost down to his knees. And it was so funny because when I got it and I opened it up before I put it in the bag, I was showing it to my parents, and my dad, he looks at it and he goes, I can't even say it. He goes, that's a pimp coat.
Oh, wow.
And I started laughing. And then
Was it purple?
It was white with like little gray flecks. But then it was so funny is at his birthday party on Friday night, he opens it up and he pulls it out. And then my sister Laura, she goes, who got that for him? And I said,
well, she didn't know, huh?
No. And I said, it was from me. And then my cousin Christopher, he looks at it and he goes, that's a pimp coat.
A
Just
pimp
like
coat?
that. A pimp coat. And so Zeke like puts it on and he starts like strutting. And he was like living life large, thinking he would not take it off all night. He thought it was the best thing ever.
Well, that's great if you loved it. Why not? You
He
know,
was obsessed with it. And then we got him this pillow that says, be careful or you might find yourself being part of my stand-up or something like that.
oh, nice.
Yeah, but
nice.
anyways, it was really fun having time with Ezekiel and
Oh, that's
seeing
great.
him like enjoy his 19th birthday.
Well, that is a great birthday. It sounds like a wonderful time
It
for him
really
and
was.
for you.
It took me a long time to get home, but I really did enjoy my time up there with my family. Definitely working hard, but glad to be back here. Glad to have such a great episode this week. And who knows, if you stay tuned for the next episode, you may just hear us go deep, get vulnerable, and share a little bit of our story.
Get your Kleenex ready.
Yep. You never know. You never know what's going to happen on the Kris and Kristine show. So where can people find out more about us, Kris?
Yeah, you can go to our website, which is krisandkristineshow.com.
And you can find out more about us as a couple, our family. You can also learn about Kris's podcast production services with Podtastic Audio. Find out more about my business, Kristine Smith Designs. And you can always like and subscribe to our podcast and share it if you've loved this episode and you found it interesting, right, Kris?
Absolutely.
And we just want to say thank you to everybody for being such loyal listeners, and we'll be back with you
Next week.